During times of trial and devastation, we have to dig deep into our souls and hearts to find the grit and the determination to move forward. Some days it may seem like weight and heaviness holds back the tiny steps forward. We've had many hardships happening around us in our world, and the weather patterns have created fires, tornadoes, and floods like never before. We're focused on the Moyo family in Malawi, who are striving to find drinkable water, a way to create shelter, and a chance to grow their own food. To begin today, we're bringing the Moyo family's desire to find a way to create a house that can withstand these changing weather patterns. The mud bricks cannot hold up to the rainy season, particularly typhoons coming through. I'm pleased to bring Charlene Waines into the conversation so we can learn more about how to ask questions for supporting others and understanding the true needs of a community so far away from our own. You're listening to Be Well with Michelle Greenwell. This is sponsored by Dance Debut Inc. and the Cape Breton Tea Company. And please welcome Charlene Waines. Hey, how are you?
Great. How about yourself?
I'm good. You've got sunshine behind you, I see.
Yes, I'm fortunate to be out in beautiful Fairmont, BC. So enjoying the sunshine and all the bounty we have here. And it's a little bit hard to think that we're able to just do that. And yet, the family that we're talking about, the Moyos, they would never dream of experiencing anything like this. They never have a day where they just sit back and relax on a deck at a rental building, a condo that you can just go and take time off from your day-to-day life and forget your worries. They never forget their worries.
Yeah.
It's really humbling to think about that and think how much really we have.
Exactly. Before we start today, what I'd like to do is pull an affirmation card for us and pull the energy towards those people like the Moyos who have lots of challenges before them right now and could use a little bit of extra love. So what I did is I went to my affirmations for the Body and Biofield deck. And I know people have heard me talk about it before. I'm just holding up the front cover, which has mother and child on the front. It's a beautiful ribbon of color. But what I pulled today was the fascia spine flow. So this is how energy transforms from our spine through to the muscles. And the affirmation for this is love, forgiveness, compassion, and hope radiates to others when offered freely and openly. The gifts in everyone can be realized when love is unconditional. And this is for the heart chakra. And when I pull the cards from the deck, I don't go choose them. I let them choose me. So I cut the deck to find out where. And that's what came up today. So I thought it was fitting for what we're doing.
They're very appropriate. Love is unconditional. And I think that's a message that everyone can sit back and let it steep, so to speak, very appropriate for the Cape Breton Tea Company too, that you just need to sit back and think less of yourself and just reach out to others and be more open and accommodating. Everybody's so rush. And so need to get here, need to get there, get out of my way.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot to just stop and say, what can I do to help?
Exactly. So you and I both prepared the Mission4Change CommuniTEA for today's event. So do you want to show them what it looks like in that pot of tea that you've got there?
Oh, I'd love to. So here I have it. Are you able to see it there?
Yes. And for those that are listening to the podcast, it's a beautiful orange, deep orange color. Perfect. And I know you were going to pour yours into your cup there.
Yeah.
And we worked together to create this tea as a fundraising opportunity for the Moyo family, but also for people to take that time, take a few moments to stop, breathe, be present, and consider what is the next move that you're doing and how can you support someone. So here we go. We've got our tea. And we're sending energy out to all those people who need a little extra helping hand today. And cheers.
Here.
Oh, it's just one of my favorites.
It's very, very smooth when you drink it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very nice. It just sort of floats down. It's so lovely. We actually had it cold on the balcony last night because it's quite warm here right now. It's about 23 or 24 today, but it was really warm yesterday. So we brewed it the day before and put it in the fridge and had it like an iced tea last night. It was really nice and refreshing. But yeah, it's very, very beautiful.
Yeah. And the other thing you can do with that tea is make it into ice cubes. And then you can put some flowers, because most of the flowers are edible. So putting some edible flowers into the ice, into the water as it goes to ice, but then adding that to your water. And then you have that opportunity to bring in the power of the message of the tea into your glass of water. And then you've got the flowers that kind of float at the top afterwards. So anyway, I'll just send that image out to anybody listening who's thinking about what are they going to do for their iced tea while it gets hot.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect coming into the summer too. Well, and here I'm sitting on forget what green it is of the golf course, but watching different golfers going by in a tournament and stuff. And so it's very refreshing to sit and have that here. So very nice.
Okay, so let's dive in, because last time we talked about the Moyo family, you were talking about their desire to know more about us and what our world is like, and how they can help us. In what ways can they be supportive, even if it's in prayer, because they don't have any manual things that they can do for us, but they certainly can bring us into their hearts. And so I wanted to have you explore then where you've gone from there and the kinds of conversations you've been having.
It's really interesting that the first thing, and we converse pretty much every day, and it's always, good morning or good afternoon, good evening from Malawi. How are you? How are you? How are things? How is everyone? It's always about, are you okay? Is everything okay for you? It's not about them. It's always about, are we okay? How's your family? How's the weather? Is your home okay? Are things well for you? And they'll ask questions. And then when I respond, it's very engaging. It's not just, here's our problems, woe is me. It's never like that. And then we get into, a discussion, and I'll ask, I'll tell them what's going on here, whether it's we have wildfires like we've had happening in Canada, or weather things, or something local that's happening, and they're very interested to know. And then we'll talk obviously about their family and the situation going on there. And for them, we talked about last time, Cyclone Freddie had been quite devastating. And since then they've had a lot of illness problems happening. But we've also talked about that we're working here on coming up with some help and solutions for building and for helping them to rebuild. And so that's been quite interesting, because we've been talking about what should the structure of the building be. And previously, we'd worked together to build a clay-fired brick house, which they had never lived in before it had been a straw house. And before Stephen had died, they thought this was incredible. This was the most secure home the family had ever been in. We didn't know that the 100-year cyclone would hit and destroy that house. Mm-hmm. And we've learned from that. And now we're looking at where can we build in a different location that would be higher and away from more floodwater locations, and also what kind of materials would be better. And now there's more family to look after. There's orphans from other adult family members who've left children behind. And now there's one brother of the family and the mom, the grandma, and then the children that this brother, Peter, has taken in, and the various widows of the sisters, and the wives of his brothers. He's taken the kids or their wives and said, I'm not going to send your kids to an orphanage. Somehow, as a family, we'll figure this out, and we'll make this happen. So altogether, there's 16 people in the family that they're trying to house. Right now, there is no house. Right now, there's a floor and some broken down walls, and a lot of mosquitoes, and a lot of repeat malaria happening. So there's a lot of compounding problems. So as we come up with a little bit of money, someone will end up in a crisis of health. And when I talk with the family, it comes back to, well, we can't risk a life, build the house. We have to save the life first. So we put the money into trying to save the life before we build the house. So we come up a few steps and then we go back a few steps. Mm-hmm. And of course, the Cyclone Freddy really wiped out ground crops at the time, where they have faraway crops that they build, or they grow maize and then they get it ground for their own supply. But that was wiped out. So now they have to try and buy that crop and get it ground, where normally they would get their own crop ground. So that's a challenge. And with mostly children and no working adults, how do you support this family? Peter was very, very sick and ended up in hospital with just one illness after the other. And this is following a cyclone where everybody was walking in, very, very polluted water, mm-hmm. with no shoes, with no clean water for days. So they had foot fungus, they had malaria, cholera, dysentery was quite rampant. And it's not over for all of them. They don't tell me all the details. I'll find out, oh, yeah, well, 3 of the children had that for the last 2 weeks, but we didn't mention that part because that wasn't the biggest thing to mention. Mm-hmm. So it's really overwhelming about how much we do or we don't hear about in talking, but it slowly comes through. We have been talking about the building and about bricks versus cement, and that cement is probably the best thing, and the location and having it higher up and having the gravel pad. And we brought in a bunch of gravel. There was 8 tons of gravel that we got brought in. Going by. And so now we talked about how many bricks can you get out of a bag of cement. And of course, all of this is done over time. This isn't a phone call from me to Malawi. We're 10 hours difference right now, depending on the time zone, in our daylight savings time. And then depending on when they can charge their phones, because they have to take their phone to a community charging center where they have to walk quite a ways from their home and get their phone charged and get back to their home. So it's not an easy task. And then, if their day isn't like ours, they don't get up and plug the kettle or the coffee pot in or throw something in the microwave. They have to start a fire, boil the water that they've either carried or rolled from a water source, boil it till it's safe, make that, get the kids to school, which is several kilometers walk and back. It's not the same lifestyle whatsoever.
And you said, because this is important for those people who don't know the previous parts of the story about the family, is that they would be hauling a bucket or 2 if they could carry that. But again, you're talking about children that are going to have to carry the water, and it's a long walk. So you had fundraised for hippo rollers so that they could roll the water back.
Yeah.
And do they still have those hippo rollers? Because I know after the cyclone went through, they lost everything.
Yes, as far as I know, they still have the two hippo rollers, and the two hippo rollers, and these things are incredible. And a comparable thing to think about would be if you've ever put sod down in your lawn, those rollers that you use to roll the sod.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like that, but instead it's a drum that you can fill with water and then roll back to wherever your home location is, because otherwise they carry the jugs of water and sometimes multiple trips back from whatever the safe water source is.
And you were just indicating on top of their heads. So
right.
That's the best way for them to carry it.
That's the way that they can carry the most water.
Yeah.
So that's the traditional way of carrying the water. And it's typically the women and children that would carry water. And right now, because this family is primarily made up of women and children, that's the only way. It's really quite interesting once you start speaking with them on a personal level and you get to know them. And my background is as a sociologist too. That's one of my previous degrees. And you start delving into a little bit about, well, how does that work? Because if you just say, oh, well, they went to the hospital, you kind of have in your mind what we would do here if you went to the hospital. But to go to the hospital there, you have to have a guardian. And the guardian has to be another adult family member. And that person has to pack up the kitchen supplies that they would need to cook for the family member who's in hospital.
Oh my goodness.
And they have to stand by that person while they're in the hospital and look after all of their daily needs. So they bath them, they make their meals, they take care of whatever they need, other than whatever the doctor comes in or the nurse, whatever the healthcare person is. They do everything for them. And for that guardian, the person, the family who's come. So they'll take half the cooking utensils or whatever they need to cook and food supply. And they'll be away from the family home as well. So if they're normally someone who would be walking the kids to school for however many kilometers, now that person is not home. They're with the sick person at the hospital because there has to be a guardian there in order for the person to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so different from here. I was in just for a test at the hospital a week or so ago, and I was reading all the signs about how, parents can't have this information or that information, and visiting hours end at this time, and, all these restrictions on when you can or can't be there with your family person. And I'm thinking, wow, what a difference. Mm-hmm. There's so much expectation there on how much involvement there'll be. And here, there's so many rules about, no, everybody to themselves. Mm-hmm. We'll only let you in these particular circumstances. Total turnaround.
And Peter was sick, like he was in the hospital for almost a month.
Probably more than a month.
So that's 2 adults at least, plus there were 3 kids that ended up also in the hospital. Did each of them also have to have someone looking out for them, or that one lucky person got to look after all of them?
No, Peter ended up at what I just call the faraway hospital, because I don't know all the region. There's a faraway hospital that has bigger and more intense treatment that aren't available at the closer hospital. The closer hospital is about 11 or 12 kilometers away. That one they can get to by bike taxi, which means they hang on to the back of someone's, shoulders or around the waist.
Mm-hmm.
If they can afford it. Otherwise, they have to walk there to the hospital. And I know Stephen in the past carried children deathly ill to the close hospital. And so there would need to be a guardian if there was someone at the close hospital. So some of the children have been at the close hospital because they had malaria at a stage that hospital either still had that medication that they could treat them, or it was at a level, something that they could treat there. The faraway hospital, they have to get to by a motorized vehicle, which is, I think, I can't remember quite the distance, but it's considerably further away. considerably more expensive to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And they also won't send them there until they have the money to send them.
Right. So they have to be able to support themselves for care.
They have to be able to pay for the transportation to get there for them and the guardian.
Wow. We just
Yeah.
have no idea.
No, it's quite challenging. So those have been some of the roadblocks to getting them into a home. And then some of the illnesses too that strike are illnesses that are very transmissible. The mumps, malaria you can transmit between people as well, and cholera and these different things. Even the foot fungus, I think that one can spread between people. And when you have 16 people all living so close together, it's just impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And at night they're supposed to sleep under a mosquito net for each bed. But when you don't have a bed and you don't have separate rooms, I think we've gotten up to, I think, five or six mosquito nets now, but it's not enough for the family. And that's something as we develop the building and the house and the rooms, we try and see, is there enough that we can get one more mosquito net and try and get more and more people protected each night, because at night is when the mosquitoes come out, and that's how malaria is spread the most, just through the mosquito bites.
Mm-hmm.
So when I've talked with them, they talked about the cement blocks and the bricks, and that would probably be the most secure for a house. So that's our hope, is to build a strong and secure house, probably with a metal roof. And with a metal roof, you can attach a rain gutter, and with a rain gutter, you can drain off the water and collect the water. With collected water, you have more opportunity to then do a little bit of irrigation for plants, at least during the rainy season. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of spin-off that you can do just from having a house. There's a lot of protection. You can put, like right now, they have a few of their chickens have been saved from the last big storm that was being the Cyclone Freddy. I think one or two, I don't know, one goat survived or two goats. We had a bigger herd going, but the chickens live right in with the people because there's no longer a chicken coop. But that adds to the health. It all just compounds.
Yes.
And where do you start? What's the thing that you check off? And then you find out, well, the foot fungus is worse because most of them don't have shoes anymore. Those are all gone. And we're building up shoes for everybody. So, okay, well, who's walking the furthest? Who has to carry the sacks of the ground maize that they purchase? Those are 60 kilogram sacks. If they're carrying those, that's a big burden. Mm-hmm. You don't want to carry those with foot fungus. So whose shoes do we buy first?
Yeah.
Where do you start to prioritize? And then you think, well, why do you care about this family from Malawi? Because somehow this family was pointed out to me, and it makes a difference. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like somehow these people wouldn't have survived if we hadn't reached out. And in showing them that we care and it makes a difference, it's changed their lives, and it's changed other people's lives around them. Mm-hmm. And that does make a difference.
And they have what kinds of education or ideas that you come up with across your conversations is problem solving for other people in the village. So you're not just problem solving just their family. It's providing then that impetus that if you can figure out how to make those bricks, that they're going to be able to withstand the better part of storms, kind of hard in a cyclone, but the better part of storms, then other families will have that opportunity to learn and grow from that experience.
And that's really when Stephen and I first started chatting, and he had very much a dream of trying to find ways to help him, and his wife Maria had a dream of trying to find ways to help mothers who had been widowed. And that's a huge problem in the region. They've been widowed, whether it's because of HIV, of malaria, of cholera, whatever, all of these horrible issues are, that he wanted some way to be able to help them with malnutrition and ongoing nutritional issues.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first started working on the Keystone Gardens, and this was something that he was sharing as we learned, and he built the Keystone Gardens that we conversed about and talked about, and his garden was starting to flourish, and people were taking note that he had this like kitchen garden outside of their house that they built, and all these positive changes were happening around him, that they wanted to do similar. And so we saw it grow to, well over 20 gardens in their village. And this village isn't like little side-by-side houses. It's, there's one family area here, and the next one could be, several kilometers down is the next person. So it's quite widespread for the village.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go from person to person, it's not instantaneous. But over time, they slowly helped build up other people to start growing people gardens and to spread how you do that. And so it does make a difference. And that was the goal, was to try and seek out, are there people who are living alone? Are there families with children or new moms that really aren't getting the nutrition that they need? And is there a way we can show them that they can do that on their own and do that without cost, really? It's just learning something new and different. And that would help, reduce the malnutrition and improve their ability to live better and live healthier and not have all these medical crises that they were seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not just one family. I mean, helping the one family can make a difference for a lot of other people.
Right. And Stephen did lose his life after many big health challenges. So his wife is trying to raise their children with the help of Stephen's brother Peter.
Yeah, and Stephen's and Peter's mom, she still lives with them all too, the grandma, and she helps look after all the grandkids. And she's often the one who ends up going to the hospital too to be guardian, and has her own health challenges. And part of the challenges there too is that the natural water, even when it's well water or other water that comes up from the ground, is it's a very high salt content water, and that tends to take its toll on the body. So there's high degree of hypertension for a lot of people, just naturally because they've had this high salt diet their whole life, because that's what's all around them, that they can't get away from that. It's very, very difficult. So it really takes its toll. And malnutrition, I mean, Malawi is in the bottom 10 economic countries in the world. It's just they don't have the means to fix everything themselves. The government doesn't have the means to fix everything themselves, but the world has the means to do it.
I was fascinated when I was creating the label for the tea. And I thought, well, what do I put on here for a picture or a symbol for Malawi? And it's the lotus flower. And I'm thinking of all the people who work with the lotus flower. And for yoga people, that's the center of what they do. But the actual meaning of it was peace. So Malawi is all about peace. And I think of the turmoil that they deal with, yet they have this center that they've created around the idea of peace. And it's truly amazing.
And they're also one of the big producers of tea.
Really?
Yeah. I was researching that and I thought, we need to explore that.
I think we do. Absolutely.
We do. Yeah, I think there may be some connection for us there.
That would be lovely. That would be lovely, especially if we can find a way to support this family and the village, getting them their most basic needs so that perhaps they can be growing crops that can be of value beyond nourishing their family, but actually being able to create some money for them. So they have it.
I have no idea if there's particular areas of Malawi that tea is grown in versus other areas. I have no idea, but that's one of their exports is tea.
So
Things to learn.
the tea company just continues to give an offer. It's just the most amazing. It's the most amazing thing I think I've worked on or worked with.
Oh, I love it.
I should say, yeah. So as people are listening to the story and they're getting to know the family a little bit more, and they're starting to hear how you ask the questions and how you figure out how can I be of service, what is a way that they can help you right now? What is a way that people could start being compassionate with what they're doing?
Well, I started a GoFundMe a few years ago. Originally, it was to help Stephen and the family. And as you said, we lost Stephen actually to COVID about a year and a half ago now. But I've kept the GoFundMe going, and now it's called Stephen Moyo's Mission4Change. And I'm leaving that open so that we can use that in order to continue to raise funds, both to help build the family a home, but also to use those funds on an ongoing basis to help support the family when these crises happen, when someone needs an emergency trip to the hospital and needs medication, or that they're in dire need of food, because I found that I can't support them all on my own. And I can't just keep asking my family to step in and help, although bless their hearts, everyone has. When I ask, somehow it has continued to happen, and we've continued to help them. But I think it's not up to me to limit the help that this family gets, because they deserve more than what I'm able to provide and able to reach out to my family and friends to. So I wanted to open it up and say, this is the story. And I think, excuse me, I think it's a story that deserves to be told. So Stephen Moyo's Mission4Change is at GoFundMe, and you have that link.
It'll be in the description for the podcast. Yep.
Okay. And then we have this amazing tea, the one that we're drinking. And is that in focus?
Yep. So she's just holding up the tea for those people on the podcast. It's got the Cape Breton Tea Company label, and then it says Mission4Change CommuniTEA, and it has the ingredients listed there. And also it has an affirmation, because we all know that when we start with the affirmation of our intention, we have the opportunity to create the change towards our goals. So that's there. And on the back side is how to drink tea. So different ways that you can make it and engage it in what you're doing, and to continue to cultivate the message of creating change and of being supportive. So that's all there.
And so the statement on the label for the tea says, in community, we are empowered to change. I think that's the big message. And that's available on Cape Breton Tea Company's website, which is capebretontea.ca.
Right. And you can find the tea listed in with all the other herbal teas, but also in the link section, there is a little description of the tea, but also the link for the GoFundMe campaign. So that's an easy way to find it if people can't, haven't got a piece of paper to write anything down because they're listening in the car or something.
Or if you know me, Charlene Waines, or my parents, certainly get a hold of us in West Kelowna area. We're happy to sell you some. We have a lovely stockpile that Michelle sent out to us, and we're more than happy to share that with you, or just check in with us, whether it's at home or on Facebook or Instagram, anything like that. Send me a message, and I'd be happy to sell you some for whatever event you're having. I've got some there. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the other thing too that I think could be important to talk about is if somebody wanted to help out, but maybe they don't have the funds to help themselves, but a fundraiser where you could introduce the tea and maybe sell a few more packages, sorry, that's a possibility. And there's lots of opportunities between both yourself and myself for how to put those kinds of events together. And that would be a great way to bring people into the conversation about how can we help? How can we ask the questions that you're asking? Because I'm just in awe, because I exchange with Maria and I exchange with Peter, but I just don't have this ability to ask those questions like you do to get down to the nuggets. And so I'm in awe at the way that you do that. And I think that our listeners could really learn from that and take away how they could be empowered by understanding the ways that sometimes we need to have a conversation in order for people to open up to us when they need help. Most of us will say, can I help you? And people will say, no, that's okay, I've got it. And we do that out of our politeness. But underneath, there are many times where we really could have used some help, but we actually didn't even know how to ask for it. And we didn't even know what we really needed. And it's asking those questions that I think gets people really into that mindset of, I can problem solve with someone else. I can't identify my problem, but other people can help me identify it. And because I'm in awe at the hippo rollers and at the garden that you created, because that solved huge problems for them and provided them with so much opportunity. And those hippo rollers supported all kinds of other things in the village, which is also amazing how far that little bit of questioning got you.
Well, and some of it I found is that you have to be willing to be humble,
Mm-hmm.
and to be vulnerable, because it can't be a single lane highway. So in order to receive information and to get to that level, you have to also be willing to share those things that are painful and challenging about yourself back.
Mm-hmm.
So that both sides feel like they're at the same level.
Mm-hmm.
So I've shared challenges and difficult things about me back with the family as well, so that we're on an even level.
Very valuable.
That can be hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to consider yourself to be at a different level or a higher level or whatever it might be. And we're in a developing world. They're not, but that doesn't make us any different or better. Certainly Stephen, I learned so much from him and was so inspired by him before he died. And I was so devastated when he died. I'd never met him in person, but he was like a best friend and a brother when I lost him.
Mm-hmm.
It just crushed me. And I think Maria and the children were worried that they would lose me. And I said, no, you know, your family, you're stuck with me now. We're in this. This isn't the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've all suffered a loss, and your loss is greater because you've had him longer and you were there with him in person, but no, I'm still in this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that wasn't the end. But somehow we'll figure this out, but I'm not gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different world for all of us now, but we'll still figure this out. And I think that was kind of eye-opening for them, that I wasn't just going to disappear since Stephen was gone too.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a whole new world to get acquainted with his brother and his brother's wife, Stella. Well, they weren't married at the time. Now I know his wife too, and talked to her, and it's all been quite an experience.
Mm-hmm.
But they do feel like it's a totally different family, but it's like a family to me. It's that deep of getting to know the people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But maybe you just have to have insomnia.
so you can be texting in the middle of the night.
Yeah, to people who are in opposite time zone.
Oh my gosh. All right. So there's the solution for all those people out there who can't get sleep. I won't tell them what my solutions are for energy things that you can do for sleep. We'll just say, yes, get on your phone and find some people. Oh, that's lovely. Is there anything else we need to say before we finish today?
No, I just think it's important to remember that tea is not just for winter. Remember.
Yes. Yes. And tea has a way to calm. It has a way to endure, and it has a way to strengthen. And so when we start to really look at what the tea has to offer us, I think we all grow. And definitely the CommuniTEA tea
Yeah.
is a way for that. So,
Yeah.
so to the Moyo family, we're coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cheers. Thank you very much. Thank you to Dance Debut and the Cape Breton Tea Company. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So this episode we try to do at the end of each month. So you have an update of what's happening and get the latest that's coming forward from the Moyo family and ways that you might be able to assist or ways that you can start to learn how you can also be reaching out and supporting. So I'm going to close here. Thank you, Charlene, and I wish you the best as you finish your time at Fairmont and the sunshine. And this is season 3. We are devoted to the transformational process that happens when people reach into their authentic selves and then they start to create magic. Our season has several publications. This is week 4 of the month. And we hope they inspire and empower you to consider living your true heart's desire with love and compassion for others at the forefront. Thank you for joining us. This is Be Well with Michelle Greenwell, wishing you the courage to face your own transformation for the well-being of those around you. Take care.